Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr.Nidhi Darbari, on My Education Treasure. In my previous video on the philosophy of Nyaya, I had discussed about Pratyaksh or perception in epistemology of Nyaya Darshan. Today, in my present video, I am going to discuss about Anuman, Upman, and verbal testimony in epistemology of philosophy of Nyaya. Anuman or inference. This kind of knowledge is mediate and indirect. It arises through a mark, the middle term, which is invariably connected with the major term. It is knowledge which arises from anu, other knowledge. Invariable concomitance is the nerve of inference. The presence of the middle term in the minor term is called pakshdharmata. The invariable association with the major term is called vyapti. The knowledge of pakshdharmata as qualified by is what is called paramarsh. Inference is defined as knowledge arising through paramarsh. The following is a typical Nyaya syllogism. Pratigyan, the hill has fire. The logical statement to be proved. Hetu, because it has smoke. The reason for the statement. Udharan, over what has smoke has fire. Example, an oven. This is universal concomitant. Upanya, this hill has smoke which is invariably with fire. Application of universal concomitance. Nigaman, therefore this hill has fire. Conclusion drawn from the preceding proposition. 5-step panch avyay. A logical statement that needs to be proved is pratigyan, the hill is fiery. States the reason for establishment of proposition is hetu, because it has smoke. Vyapti is the statement of universal concomitance. Udharan, whatever has smoke has fire. Example, oven. Application of Vyapti in present case. OPI, hill has smoke which is invariably associated with fire. Concluding step is Nigaman, therefore the hill is fiery. A cognition which presupposes some other cognition, knowledge of perceived thing by experience through the perception of some sign on the basis of their invariably associated concomitants. For example, hill is fiery because it has smoke. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Above example consists of 3 pad, that is hetu, ling or middle term, sign that is perceived, that is smoke. Sadhya or major term, unperceived thing of which we get knowledge on seeing hetu, example fire. Paksh or minor term, where hetu is seen and sadhya is proved, that is hill. Invariable association between middle term and major term, that is smoke and fire, is vyapti or logical ground of inference. Presence of the middle term at minor term is smoke at hill is pakshdharmata. Knowledge of pakshdharmata as qualified by vyapti is paramarsh. Knowledge arising through paramarsh is inference. Mere relation of vyapti is unable to account for inference. It is in need of paramarsh. Vyapti is the logical ground. Paramarsh is the psychological ground of inference. Types of anuman or inference. First set of classification. Inference is of 2 kinds. Swarth inference for the oneself and pararth inference meant for others. Swarth anuman, when inference is secured for oneself, a psychological process and does not require formal statement. The first one is illustrated by a man who first perceives a mass of smoke on the hill, then remembers that there is universal relation between smoke and fire, and finally infers that there is fire in the hill. Pararth Anuman, when inference is required to be made for others. It has to be presented in language and need to be convinced to others. On the other hand, the hill must be fiery because it smokes, and whatever is smoky is fiery. That is the kitchen. So also hill is smoky, therefore it is fiery. Upnaya is the most important step, as it has all three terms synthesized in one statement: Hetu, Paksh and Sadhya. It is through this step we reach to the conclusion, that is, as it gives knowledge of Paksh Dharmata qualified by Vyapti, that is Paramarsh, which leads to inference, that is knowledge arising through Paramarsh. Upnaya trivializing Paramarsh. First perception of Hetu in third step, second time in second step, and third time in this step. Second set of classification. According to Gautam, there may be three kinds of inference: Purvat, Sheshvat and Samanya Drashta. Purvat Anuman, inferring unperceived effect through perceived cause, for example, inferring rain from dark clouds. When we infer the unperceived effect from a perceived cause, we have Purvat inference, for example, when we inform future rain from the dark clouds in the sky. Sheshvat Anuman, inferring unperceived cause through perceived effect, inferring rain via muddy flood water. When we infer unperceived cause from a perceived effect, we have Sheshvat, for example, when we infer past rain from the swift, muddy, flooded water of river. Samanya Anuman, inference on the basis of uniformity of coexistence, inferring cloven hoofs of animals by its horns. When inference is based not on causation but on uniformity of coexistence, it is called Samanya Drashta. For example, when we infer cloven hoofs of an animal by its horns. The first two are based on causation, the last one on mere coexistence. A cause is the incredible and unconditional descendant of an effect, is the invariable and unconditional consequent to a cause. The third set of classification. Inference based on nature of Vyapti and different methods of establishing it gives us Keval Anvayi, Keval Vaitriki and Ananya Vaitriki. The method of induction by which universal cause relationship established by Anvay, Vaitriki or both. Keval Anvay, when middle term is always positively related to major term. Terms agree only in presence and there being no negative instance. For example, all knowable things are nameable. Pot is knowable. Therefore, pot is nameable. We have Keval Vaitriki inference when the middle term is different from the minor term and is always negatively related to the major term. The term agrees only in absence, there being no positive instance of the agreement in presence. For example, what is not different from other element has no smell. The earth has smell. The earth is different from other elements. Keval Vaitriki, when middle term is always negatively related to major term. For example, what is not different from other element has no smell. Earth has smell. Therefore, earth is different from other elements. We have keval anvayi inference when middle term is always positively related to the major term. The term agrees in presence, there being no negative instance of the agreement. In absence, for example, all knowable objects are nameable. The pot is knowable. The pot is nameable. Anvay Vaitriki, when middle term is both positively and negatively related to major term, that is Vyapti, is in both presence and absence. Hill smoke, example, hill has smoke. Hill is fiery and hill is not fiery. We have Anvay Vaitriki inference when the middle term is both positively and negatively related to the major term. The Vyapti between the middle and the major term is in respect of both presence and absence. There is no double agreement between the term. They agree in presence in the positive instances and they also agree in absence of in the negative instances. For example, all things which have smoke have fire. The hill has smoke, the hill has fire. And no non-fiery things have smoke. The hill is non-fiery, that is, hill has fire. This hill has fire. Method of establishing Vyapti. Anvay. Method of agreement. One is present, the other it also present. Always positive association, there being no negative instance, example smoke and fire. Vaitriki. Method of disagreement. Uniform agreement in absence between the two. Negative association, that is, in absence of one, other is also absent. Example, no fire, no smoke. Vyabhichargraha. No exception in Anvay and Vaitriki. No case in which one is present and other is not. Updhinarasa. Elimination of condition on which relation between Hetu and Sadhe possibly be dependent. For example, smoke, fire relation is based on wet fuel. Tark. An indirect way of justifying a certain conclusion by showing the absurdity of its contradiction. Vyapti. Literally, it means the state of perversion. It implies a correlation between two facts of which one is pervaded and other pervades. Relation of coexistence between Hetu and Sadh which is independent of all conclusions. An invariable, unconditional and universal concomitance between Hetu and Sadh. It is the logical ground of inference. Psychological ground being Paramarsh, since it guarantees the conclusion. Kinds of Vyapti. Asama Vyapti, a Vyapti between terms of unusual extension, example smoke and fire. One-way concomitance between two terms, that is, from one of which we can infer the other but not vice versa. Samvyapti, a Vyapti between two terms of equal extension, knowable and nameable. Two-way concomitance between two terms, that is, from one of which we can infer the other and vice versa. Samanya Lakshan, Alaukik, Pratyaksh, Praman, through other extraordinary means, essence or universal is perceived. Example, smokiness and fireness. Hetu Bhasha, fallacy of inference. Hetu Bhasha fallacy containing middle term, that is Hetu, appears to be valid reason but it is not. due to fallacious inference, fallacious hetu occurs. There are 5 characteristics of valid hetu. Must be present in paksh, must be present in all positive instances in which sadhya is present, must be absent in all negative instances in which sadhya is absent, must be non-compatible with the sadhya, that is, must not prove coolness of fire, must prove sadhya, that is, must be qualified by the absence of counteracting reasons, which leaves two contradictory conclusions. When they are violated, it results in 5 fallacies. Asiddha or fallacy unapproved hetu. Hetu must be present in paksh. If it is not, it is unproved. Ashray siddha. Paksh is the locus of hetu. If paksh is unreal, hetu cannot be present. For example, sky, lotus. Swarup siddha. Though paksh is unreal, hetu by its very nature cannot be present in paksh. For example, visible sound. Vyapta siddha, that is, being conditional, hetu becomes asiddha. For example, fire gives smokes when it contains moisture. Savyay bhivichara, fallacy of irregular hetu. Sadharan hetu is too wide, present in both positive as well as negative instances, that is, violates the general rule. It must be absent in all negative instances. For example, hill is fiery because it is knowable. Asadharan hetu is too narrow, that is, absent in both positive as well as negative instances, that is, violates the general rule that it must be present in all positive instances. For example, sound is eternal as it is audible. Audibility belongs to sound only. It is unique. Anupsamgrahi. Hetu is non-exclusive and paksh is all-inclusive. It leaves nothing by way of positive and negative instances. For example, all things are non-eternal because they are knowable. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to my video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Sat Pratipaksh, inferential hetu. One hetu made invalid by another. Hetu via valid inference or sound is eternal as it is also audible, and sound is non-eternal as it is produced. Badhita, non-inferential contradictory hetu. Middle term is contradicted by some other praman, not by inference. Cannot prove major term which is disapproved by another stronger source of knowledge. Fire is cold as it is substance. Viruddh, contradictory middle term. Instead of proving the existence of sadhya in paksh, it proves its non-existence. For example, sound is eternal because it is produced. Here produced is proving its non-eternality. Upman or comparison. It is knowledge derived from comparison. It roughly corresponds to an analogy. It has been defined as a knowledge of the relation between a word and its resemblance or its denotation. It is produced by the knowledge of resemblance or similarity. For example, a man who has never seen a gavyai or a wild cow and does not know what it is, he is told by a person that wild cow is an animal like a cow Subsequently, he comes across a wild cow in the forest and recognizes it as wild cow. And then his knowledge is due to UPMAN. He has heard the Gavyai and has been told that it is like a cow, and now he himself sees the object noted by the word Gavyai and recognizes it to be so. Hence, Upman is just the knowledge of the relation between a name and the object denoted by that name. Verbal testimony or SHABD or AGAM, it is authoritative. Vedika, perfect and invariable as Veds are spoken by God. Secular, only the words of trustworthy person, Apta Purush, who always speak the truth, are valid. Testimony is always personal, that is based on the words of a trustworthy person, human or divine, with words potent to convey its meaning. It may be defined as the statement of trustworthy, the person, apta vakya, and consist in understanding its meaning. A sentence is defined as the collection of words, and a word is defined as that which is potent to convey its meaning. Testimony is always personal. Testimony is perfect and infallible because the Vedas are spoken by God. Secular testimony, being the words of human beings, you are liable to error, is not fallible. Only the words of trustworthy person who always speak the truth are valid, others are not. Sentences, in order to be intelligible, must conform to certain conditions. These conditions are Akanksha, Yogyata, Sanidhya and Tatparya, which refers to expectancy, mutual fitness, approximity and meaning in context conveyed. Prakaran. A sentence, in order to be intelligible, must conform to certain conditions. Akanksha or expectancy. Words of a sentence are interrelated and convey a meaning in complete sentence. A mere aggregate of words will not make a logical sentence. Example, cow, cat or dog. Yogyata or mutual fitness. Words should fit to convey the sense and should not contradict the meaning. For example, water the plant with fire. Sanidhya or proximity refers to close proximity of words to one another. For example, words must be spoken in quick succession without long intervals. Tatparya, meaning in context conveyed, refers to the intentions of the speaker, as one word may have multiple meanings. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.